Okay, so first of all, how many people are here for the first time, first Social Fresh? Okay. So you guys need to make a lot of noise for Jason, because Jason's a good buddy of mine. He's been someone that I've watched build this conference since the beginning, since we were on IM one night, and he was telling me about this idea to revolutionize kind of conferences as we know it. So, and he told at the time I was running a conference, and I heard all of his ideas, and I was going, crap, I wish I came up with those. I wish I could do those. So give Jason a round of applause for all the stats that he shared. The next part is, this is the second speaker that is sick with a cold. So Eric said how much he was on NyQuil and things like that. I don't like NyQuil, but I'm on DayQuil and everything to rest my voice. So if I start having a coughing fit or things like that, please call 911. So we're going to talk about how to harness the power of webinars. And Jason and I were talking about this morning. We have 30 minutes. I want to leave time for Q&A. There's 30 slides, so you need to keep up, first of all. Second of all, this could be a half day or full day session just on this, just to how to break down each one of these pieces. So I know it's going to be high level. I know we'll go through it fast. If you have questions, feel free to come up to me afterwards, ask during the Q&A. Rhonda Hughes, who's also our community manager at Citrix, she spent years in the webinar program for us at Citrix, so she's a pro at all of these too, so you can always find her and ask her. So my major disclosure, kind of my safe harbor statement. You know, we're a public company, you gotta do those safe harbor statements before you make these big things. If you or your company or your product sucks, none of this will help you. If you hate people, get off of social media. People think that social is this big silver bullet. Well, I don't want to talk to my customers. I don't want to engage with people. But social will help me make money. It won't. There's a social aspect of the word social media, of the phrase. So hopefully none of you hate your customers or hate people. How many people here are B2B, B2C? You don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay. So for those that don't know what I'm talking about, B2B stands for business to business. That means you sell from one business to another. B2C is business to consumer, so Sony selling TVs to someone that walks into Best Buy. It doesn't matter. Everyone asks, well, I'm a B2B company. This isn't going to work for me. Two logos don't pick up the phone and talk to one another. There's humans on either end every time. It's just a little different. I understand that. There's a little difference if you're selling an actual physical good versus a software. If you're selling to 10,000 seats of a piece of software versus trying to sell a single TV. And a tip, cats, dogs, babies, monkeys, unicorns, things like that always work in slide decks. So it came up in the last session, came up during Eric's session about this topic of social media ROI. And many people feel like this, like a deer in the headlights when they're asked about social media ROI. They don't know how to report on it because for so long, we have operated in silos. Social sits out by itself, and all these other functions in marketing, such as webinars and ebooks and other pieces of content and sales and HR and recruitment and all the other facets of an organization, sit out there, and they might say that they integrate social, right? So yeah, we have the follow us buttons on our website, but they don't actually integrate social. They operate in a silo, and when it comes time for reporting, they look to social and say, hey, what's your ROI? And social goes, I don't know, we have 20,000 followers. I don't know how many customers we have. It's because we're not integrated. It's because we work off this concept of checklist social media so often now. We come in all the way at the end as social practitioners, or the company brings us in at the end to say, hey, so we did a webinar, can you go tweet it for us? We want to get registrations, can you go tweet that webinar for us with the generic link, and by the way, tell us how many registrants we got from it, because you have all the followers and we have less budget. Or hey, we just launched a press release, can you go tweet it for us? As opposed to rethinking how you can integrate this. We need to be more integrated with this, and that's how we're going to use webinars as an example, because I think it's a great example, and there's people in this room that are doing great things with them. This is just a screenshot to show you just even a facet of how you can integrate things. So this is what we use. It's Podio, kind of disclosure. We own Podio. We acquired them back in April. But we use it as opposed to project management, which we use in other areas. We have every one of our content channels has its own app inside of this channel, and our whole global marketing team, everyone that creates content, probably about 50 or 60 of us, manage within this. So you can see social, blogs, other assets. VOC stands for our voice of the customer. webinars, events, things like that. So that all comes in here, drops onto a calendar, and we meet once a week to review everything. So we can see where there might be alignment, where we didn't understand alignment before, where people are working with the same thought leader. Maybe we can double up. We can do a webinar with them, have them create a piece of content for us, have them do something else for us. So we need to be more integrated. You can do this in Excel. You can do it in Podio if you want. It's free to sign up, but you need to be more integrated. And that, when you're integrated, can be the power of a webinar. You can use webinars to build value, build intimacy with your customers and your prospects and your fans, build trust and partnership and loyalty. And, surprise, you can build a lot of revenue. You can generate a lot of revenue, especially if social is tightly integrated into it. So we're going to break this into 5 phases. Like I said, each one of these could be an entire session unto themselves, so I'll have to kind of move through some of them fast. How many people have conducted webinars? So like 3.5 of you. Great. So I asked this question. Asked an attendee survey on Social Fresh on the Facebook group yesterday. And I said, you know, how many people are running webinars for marketing and lead gen? 4 answers, yes, we find them valuable, yes, but we haven't found value, no, sell us on it, and no, but we're planning on it. And a remarkable 6 of you responded out of 230 registered attendees. So we know that that's statistically significant, of course. And so if we wanted to write this for a headline, something that's tweetable, like we like to do in social, you can change this to 83% of Social Fresh attendees find webinars valuable. Note, 2 respondents are conference organizers, the others 2 work for me. So phase 1, deciding the story. We tend to think of webinars, at least the webinars that I've been to that are bad, you see that people seem like they can just sit there and they have a slide deck that they might have created a while back, maybe it's a sales pitch or something like that, and they want to run a webinar, and we want to generate leads from it. So tomorrow at noon or next week at noon, we're going to hold a webinar, and we're just going to show up. So 11:45, 15 minutes before the webinar, they sit down at their laptop, and they open up the laptop, and they're ready to fire up the webinar. They might have sent it out to some friends or some prospects or what have you. But you got to dial this all the way back. You got to treat it like it's a performance, like it's a live event that you're speaking at. What's the story? What are you trying to get across? If you can answer that, it might be as simple as this is going to be a product demo webinar because you have a software that you want to show off. That's fine. That might be your story. But if not, what is your story? What are you trying to get out of this? This was a quote from a friend, Chris Penn, so now he's gone 2 for 2. He's not even here, and he's gone 2 for 2 in presentations for being quoted. Last week, he said at Dreamforce, your kids never say, Daddy, tell me a press release. They ask you to tell them a story. Please give him credit for it, because I'm not that smart to come up with that. But it's true. You don't get asked to don't tell me a piece of content. Don't tell me 5 ways to sell. Tell me how this is going to be helpful. Tell me a story. Involve me in the story of it. So as you start to break this down, you start to break down how you're going to tell the story, what you're going to think about. You need to think of what's the solution or the benefit. So here you are. You want to run a webinar, or you want to run a webinar series or stand-up webinars as part of your marketing mix. What's the solution or benefit? How does your product potentially help whoever you hope to attend? That could be based on any number of things, of course, depend on your product, whether it's software-based, if it's a SaaS software, if it's something that you got to be physical on site, if it's like a restaurant, food or whatnot, it's going to change. Who's your persona? You should be able to answer this anyways. If you can't answer who your persona is and you lead marketing for your company, you should take a step back and go figure this out. Because if you know who your personas are, you'll know how you can market to them. You'll know what they need. You'll know what problems. You'll understand what problems they're experiencing if you're able to put yourselves in their shoes. Then, if you know the solution or what you're trying to solve for and you know the persona, you can make this logical relation. You can kind of correlate this to them. You can make this useful for them. Then you need to decide what are your intended outcomes of the event. It's not always going to be lead generation. It could be to show off a new version of your software, for example, to your best customers. Maybe you're holding a webinar about that. So what you want to generate is awareness. And the way that you're going to generate awareness through social channels, you're going to measure the number of tweets and things like that using the hashtag. It might be lead generation. So then you're going to track how many leads you're taking in through different promotional channels and things of that nature. You want to identify advocates or experts? Are you going to have someone else speak on your webinar? Who are your most passionate fans? Who are the ones that will carry that message forward for you? Who might speak with you if you want to talk about LinkedIn? Who's the best LinkedIn expert you can get? Or do you want to showcase your thought leadership and speak by yourself? Then, how are you going to reach your customers and potential prospects? What channels are you going to use? This is all going to be part of the storytelling because you want, again, to be integrated. You don't want to fire off an email that says one thing and tweet something different and have a hashtag that doesn't match the name of your webinar and have a speaker that doesn't align with what you're doing, and you want this all to be integrated. And then, if you've run webinars before, review the past performance. How have other webinars done on this topic? If you're doing them in a few different major verticals or on a few major topics, how has your social media focused webinars differed from your productivity webinars or your software demos or your storytelling demos or things of that nature? Phase 2, planning your webinar. And hold on. I won't cough into my mic like one guy that wore Argyle pants up here, but I will have to stop for water so I can still talk. Planning your webinar. So some of this is, again, very tactical stuff, but it's the little things, right? It's always the little things. In everything we do, it's always the little things. It's the little things that we miss that screw things up. It's the little things that we do that make things come off phenomenal. Date and time. Media partner. So some of your companies may choose to work with a media partner. At work, we use media partners to do a lot of things, so we'll partner, say, with Fast Company or Inc. Magazine or things like that to help support the webinar and carry the webinar. They'll support it through their channels. Obviously, we'll have a contract with them, things of that nature. You may not want to do that, or you may not have the means to do that, so that's a checkbox that you wouldn't answer. You just decide, no, you don't want to run a media partner. A moderator. Are you going to have someone moderate your event, or are you going to be your own moderator? A lot of times what you see happen is because you want to do this kind of by yourself or with the smallest team possible, you try to do everything. And I know a lot of people have run into this, and I've run into it, I've experienced it, and you sit down and it's not possible to do everything. So who are you going to have, even if they're a silent moderator, that's going to feed you information? You can't monitor the webinar, speak on the webinar, monitor the hashtag and kind of conversations, answer the questions, ensure that the technology is still running. To try to do that all in one person is very hard. I've run into it. I see Mike out here. I know he's run into it because Mike and I have done a lot of work together. I know everyone here that's done them before. You try to do it, you're like, this is great, I just need one person. It's not going to be that many, and pretty soon you realize you can't swap the screen because you have the webinar shown and all sorts of things like that. So if you're going to have a moderator, either publicly to actually handle the interaction while you do the technical stuff, or they might be someone that's silent that at least feeds you the best questions or things of that nature. Speakers, again, are you going to have someone speak on the webinar with you? You might find them through social channels, you might engage with them through social channels, but are you going to have a speaker or are you going to do it yourself? If you're going to have a speaker and they're going to be under contract, what can you get them to do to help you promote the webinar as you go on? So a lot of webinar speakers we contract with, we'll sign them to kind of multifaceted deals. So they'll write an ebook for us, they'll blog for us about the webinar, they'll write a blog on their blog or their company's blog about it, and they'll commit to share so many times through social channels for us. Dry run. This came up as a question in the Facebook group when I posted yesterday to see if anyone had any questions. Question came up about basically how do you know what to do so you come off professional in the middle of it. You dry run this. You don't come up on stage, again, for the first time ever speaking publicly and don't dry run. You don't do a webinar without a dry run. You want to ensure that the technology works. You want to ensure that you have the right hashtag, that another event hasn't kind of moved in on that hashtag or something else that you don't want really associated with your brand. Next, you're going to kind of create this event creative. How are you going to promote your webinar? As you get into the promotion phase, where social's really going to start to integrate and move into this, how are you going to promote this? Landing page, is that landing page going to live on your site? I hope you say yes. Do you need email creative? Do you need marketing banners? Do you need email banners? What do you need? Are you going to change your Twitter background to help promote it because it's this big webinar? Do you need things for your Facebook page, such as you're going to swap out your cover art? You're going to create a custom tab? What's all the creative that you want to do for this? Then create trackable links per promo channel. So this is where we tend to fall down, again, with that ROI question, is that we just use the same link that our webinar is at. So it's gotowebinar.com/mywebinar or what have you. You use that, and that's what you send out through everything. and then you try to kind of scurry on the back end. Well, we got 3 retweets, that might have, no. If you have a CRM or any number of tools, marketing tools that will help you do this, create trackable links for everywhere where you're going to share it, and then you'll be able to hone in. You might decide at first you want to just create one for social media overall. You might not want to break down, or you might decide I want a separate link for Twitter and Facebook and Google+, and YouTube if you're going to have a video as part of your promotions, and for email marketing, and for this digital ad that we bought. Create all those links. Then when they flow into your lead funnel, onto your lead form, you'll be able to measure them. You'll be able to see. And this is how we've been able to track ROI at Citrix through our demand gen channels, through our demand generation, our webinar channels. This is the #1 way we get to do it. And a little hint is if you're trying to prove ROI in the business and you are able to show some ROI, you'll get people off your back so you can do all the other fun stuff while they run around with that number. So we've proved ROI. That gives us some room to go and do other things that we want to do. And reserve your resources. This sounds very simple, but if you've ever been on a webinar with background noise, you'll know what I mean. You shouldn't and can't do, well, you can do, but you shouldn't, if you want to come off professional, a webinar from your laptop on hotel Wi-Fi using your cell phone. But a lot of people do. Have a hard line, have a webinar room. If you're going to do this seriously, either take your conference room and section it off, put up a sign outside that says absolutely do not disturb, have a separate room. We have at our different offices, we have webinar rooms. I know HubSpot has a webinar room. They're one of the first to do that I saw. I know a lot of other companies have them as well. These are sectioned off rooms that have hardline computers, to the internet. They're hardline phones. Everything is set up there. Minimal resources on the computer. Anything to prevent the technology from crashing. Because the worst part of this, you spend all this time working on it, you get a few hundred people or more on your webinar, and it crashes. Because then instead of social being your friend, social won't be so nice to you because everyone will take to social and start to complain about this. So phase 3, promoting your webinar. So you've done all the legwork, you've done all the logistics, now you're ready to start to promote, so really start to use the social channels. First step is have this registration landing page. HubSpot does this really amazing. And so you'll see this is a landing page that HubSpot uses or has up on their page right now. If you go over to HubSpot.com, you can go find it. It's a workshop, kind of 3-series workshop that they've done 2 that have already happened, and it looks like one that's scheduled to happen. But you can see down at the bottom of the screen, they've embedded social directly into this. So step 1, using a landing page, they've embedded social right from there. Right there, they're telling you all the benefits. They're telling you if they think that this is useful to you. If you agree with them, you can sign up for the webinar and immediately share it out. And actually, they have the social sharing above the lead form. So they're not waiting for you to get to the bottom. They're encouraging you, after you've read the description, if you really like this, share it out with your friends. And here's all the different channels, the major social channels that you can share it out. It's using this landing page, this registration landing page, as a home base approach. So you've probably heard about this if you read people like ProBlogger, Darren Rouse, or Chris Brogan. It's something that we used to use at the agency when Chris Brogan and I ran new marketing labs together, but it's this whole home base approach, home base and outpost approach. It's that you identify typically a blog as your home base, and then all social channels are your outposts, because you can control your home base. You have control over that website or that blog or that section of your site. You don't control the social channels. As much as we want to believe it, you can't control what happens with Facebook or Twitter or what have you. So if you take that same concept and you apply it to webinars, take your landing page as your home base, and everything branches off of that, right? Everything starts with the landing page. You have social baked into the landing page, as we saw how HubSpot does it. Very easy to do. But if you do paid media, you send paid media back to the landing page using a trackable link. If you do something like email marketing, you send the email marketing back to your landing page. Social media links, everything comes back in, and you can kind of go around. Speaker promos, incentives. What incentives are, you'll see a lot of people, and something you can do, give away, to help drive registrations, especially if they have problems with registrations. They'll give away 100 books or something like that. The first 100 people to register get a copy of this thought leader's book, or get a book pack, or free registration to the next event, or we partnered with so-and-so and you're going to get a discount off this. Blog content. So you might already have your landing page up, but that's going to be a different audience than who subscribe to your blog, potentially. So you're going to have people that might be following what you're creating for other forms of content, but you might have some dedicated subscribers. The only way that they consume your content is through RSS or through email subscription to your blog. So write a blog article promoting your webinar. Or have the thought leader, if you're bringing someone in externally, guest post on your blog. And don't just make it the same copy. Make it something different. Maybe it's going to be on LinkedIn, and you're going to share 5 tips, and then the other 5 are going to be shared on the webinar, something like that, something to kind of leave those cliffhangers, get people engaged. And then employee advocacy. If there's anyone more than +1 in your company, get them involved. Get them sharing out this news. And at Citrix, we have something we call the social media alert. We have about 600 people of our 600 members of our employees that have opted into this internal email. That's about 8% of our overall organization because we have 8,000 employees. And all of them receive an email when we have top-tier news, announcements, acquisitions, campaigns, things of that nature. They'll receive this. We also have an internal app inside of Podio that we use to share out some other news and things like that. So it can be as simple as an email. Or you can find other ways to get this news out to them. Share it in a weekly marketing meeting that you might have, or in a newsletter that internal newsletter you might send out. But your employees are some of your best advocates. They'll share this out. They'll get it into their social graphs, which you'll have likely some overlap, but you'll get that out. So now if you have 5 people sharing, you know how this goes. 5 people share it with 5 people who share it with then 25, and it kind of quickly grows. So you don't need much. But if you're not engaging your employees, again, you're operating in this silo. Especially the sales teams, if you have sales teams, they're going to want to know about this because they might send this to their key prospects. They know that a prospect has a problem or has expressed an interest, or they're in a certain vertical or a certain part of the buy cycle. They might send them this webinar just to try to keep them engaged and keep them hooked. You might not have a kind of full kind of customer journey or prospect journey as part of your email system, just depend on how new or more mature you are to it. Then it's game time. It's time for your webinar. During a live event, you want to provide intros that include in social media channels. Give the persons, if it's your personal or the speakers, give their social handles. Usually Twitter, usually if I do something like these, I'll say, you can find me anywhere online at Justin Levy, because I'm the same handle across most social channels. And give your company's handle. So Justin Levy, and you can find me over at GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting, or what have you. That, again, is just going to be these soft pieces. People will then be able to engage with you during the webinar. Put that visibly on the slide. Use polls to drive engagement. Now, you can use the polls that are inside the software. GoToWebinar has the ability to run polls and Q&A and things like that inside the software. Or you can step out of it and go have that poll, depend on the content, in Twitter and use the hashtag for the webinar. Because now you're going to use that to take advantage of that social graph again. People are going to see this question go out, see their friend or their follower respond to it, wonder what it is, click through to figure out what this is, and they might even engage. They're not part of the webinar. You'll see if you're following the hashtag for this event or any webinar that Social Fresh runs, you'll see people that aren't even here that are actively engaged with the content throughout the sessions. Measure attentiveness. So you use the software to do this. GoToWebinar provides this. Some other softwares provide this as well. Just to see, are people engaged? And it'll tell you, basically, are they actively engaged with the webinar, or are they off doing something else, they have it minimized. Ensure Q&A is part of your webinar. Hold Q&A, like I said, you could hold it through Twitter. So take questions from Twitter that people are sending you during the webinar. Encourage people to post them there. Because if they have it, other people have it, they might retweet it and put that on someone else's kind of radar, and then you have a chance to engage with them. However, if you're going to ask for that, of course, you might not be able to get to all the questions during the webinar, or if you have a very popular webinar. However, get back to these people, or wrap up all those questions and write a blog post after the webinar. And encourage people to use the hashtag. Have it embedded on your slides. If it's not going to be just on your first slide, if you can embed it on every slide, embed it on every slide. Send out couple reminders. Post-event. This is not what you want to do. You don't want to take a nap. You don't want to settle down. A lot of people kind of see this like, oh, yay, it's done. And that's it. No, this is actually where the hard work begins. This is where you've done the webinar, you've done all this work, you have all these leads, you have all this content, you have all these conversations. This is when you have to actually start the hard work. Make the webinar on demand. So if you use a webinar software, usually we'll archive this for you. You can have the webinar on demand, or you can download the media file. But get it up there as fast as you can along with the slides and get it out to the people that joined, or to all the people that couldn't join but that registered for it. Create content from the webinar. Again, just like you created content before the webinar, create content after the webinar. This might be in the form of an archive landing page. This might be in the form of a blog post answering the most popular Q&A. It might be content that was generated from the blog post, maybe from the webinar you came up with new ideas or things of that nature. Sorry, they held up the little 5-minute, we're going to shoot you with a dart sign if you don't get off the stage. So start your lead nurturing campaign. So you want to start to nurture these leads. Don't just fire a shotgun at them and start calling them the morning after if you have a sales team. You want to nurture these leads. They might not be ready to buy. They might take 5 or 6 or 7 touches, depending on your sales cycle, to engage with you. Conduct a survey. Did you love it or did you hate it? What could we do better? Maybe the audio was great, but the slides weren't so good. Maybe the content was perfect, give us more. Maybe they want it on a different topic. And measure the impact of your webinar. This will take a little time. You can get some of the initial number of conversations through Twitter, or number of times that it was down, the archive was downloaded or people signed up. You can get some of those metrics up front, but the sales cycle will take a little while. However, follow this through and measure against it. Measure against the types of webinars you're creating, the length, A/B test all of this stuff. 60-minute webinar was good, 45-minute, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, do we do a series of 3 and tie them all together? And track all this so that you can measure the impact and use the metrics as your guardrails. Use them to keep you on course. Let data drive your decisions. Don't let feeling and gut. Sometimes you still have to go on gut, but so often we go, the data's telling us one thing, but we're going to go over here, and we don't understand why it's failing. So I think I came in under that 5-minute mark. I had to speed up a little bit. Couldn't take another water break. But any questions?
So what are your thoughts on using social like during or after a webinar, like Twitter chats, something like that? Like yes or no, and if so, when?
No, absolutely. So absolutely use Twitter during the webinar. It's one of the best conversation vehicles that you can use actively. Encourage people to live tweet with the hashtag. Have someone, if you have multiple people on your team, which you hopefully can have, even if it's an intern or someone to monitor, sometimes that can get overwhelming, especially as your fan base and your customers and prospects get used to this webinar series, if it's every month or twice a month or what have you. You're going to need someone to monitor that. Especially in the beginning, you might be able to kind of filter them out, but if you're getting 200, 300, 400, 500 conversations over a half an hour or more, you're not going to be able to filter out for the questions, the best ones. I know Mike used to have, when he did the show, he used to actually have someone text him, pull off the best questions in IM or text him, because that filtered out just the best ones to him, someone on his team that was off kind of monitoring. But yeah, absolutely use it. Thank people afterwards. Going in, of course, don't become a robot and just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, but try to address them in different ways. Follow them from your branded account. And keep engaged with them. That's the best time, because especially if there's really nice things to say about the webinar and what have you, get back to people. Again, if there's too many questions, you might have to pull those out and do, tell the audience through Twitter that you're going to provide the blog post and then come back and do it. But you might have to kind of transfer that to a blog post to answer if you have 50 questions to answer or what have you.
You talked about the metrics, but I mean, the webinar is only one component of making an ultimate sale or somebody to sign a contract. So my question is, what is the role of those webinars in measuring that, in that final sale or contract or whatever?
Yeah, so the webinar might be the first touch point, might be the top of the funnel for them to come in. But it also depends on what type of webinar you're running, right? So, I mean, this is where the story comes in. You might run kind of introductory type webinars, broad topic. If you run a social media agency or a social media software company, you might do them on social media. But then you might dive in and at a deeper part in the buy cycle, you might run webinars that are segmented just for the people in that you identify that are part of that cycle or in that process that want deeper, like true product demo type webinars, or diving into this piece, this analytical piece that your software does or what have you. But if you're using the track links, you'll be able to see if they come in at the top of the funnel and then watch them go through your CRM, you know, now they're a prospect, you know, they're qualified, they're unqualified, you know, they haven't engaged with us in so many months. If you're using a marketing automation software, something that's cooking the website, you'll be able to kind of follow them through that process. Wow, they even have an end sign. Usually, like, they just sit there and kind of go like this to you. They have an end sign.
Can we give Justin a huge round of applause? Thank you.